Major funding for these programs is provided by grants from Capital One Bank and Perfect Building Maintenance, Murray Hill Properties, SJP Properties, Cushman & Wakefield, Greenberg Traurig, LLP, New York Community Bank, Bank of America, Kilroy Metal Products, New York's Window Company. Additional funding is provided by Akron Gold Brothers, LLC, Briarwood Organization, C.B. Richard Ellis, City Investment Fund, Essex Capital Partners, Excel Realty Advisors, First American Title Insurance Company of New York, First Service Williams, Gemini Real Estate Advisors, Hal Fettner, Durst Fettner Residential, Helmsley Spear, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, James Orphanides, Massey Knackle Realty Services, Madison Realty Capital, M&T Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Muss Development, Palin Enterprises, Rosenthal & Rosenthal, Signature Bank, Sterling & Sterling, Stephen Napolitano, Stonehenge Partners, Studley, the Moynihan Group.
Hello, my name is Michael Stoller. There's a state called New Jersey. It's right over the water. It's a place where at one time there were pharmaceutical companies, there were retail, there were major industrial, there were office buildings. But what's happening now in this little recession we're in? What's happening in New Jersey? So I've assembled individuals who are involved with the office, the industrial, the retail. No apartments in New Jersey?
Not in New Jersey.
Not New Jersey. In all aspects of New Jersey, to tell us what's happening in New Jersey. My guests today include David Welsh, who is co-founder and managing director at Normandy Realty Partners. Anthony DiTommaso, co-founder and co-CEO of Ivy Equities. And last but not least, Emmanuel Stern, who's the president and COO of Harts Mountain Industries. So you have about 35 million square feet of space in New Jersey.
Yep.
You have about 15 million of office.
Not in New Jersey.
New
total.
Jersey and Westchester and other parts. And you?
5 million feet.
5 million. So what's happening with the office market? We were talking before. It's a little, as one would say, blah. I mean, what's really happening in the office market in New Jersey?
Not much. I think the office market in New Jersey has been, in my opinion, flat to shrinking for the last couple of years. It's quite challenging at the moment.
I would agree. And the office market in New Jersey has not just slowed down since end of 07 or early of 08. I think one of the dirty truths of the New Jersey commercial market, with the exception of a few submarkets, New Jersey didn't get its fair share of the last upcycle. We watched Manhattan rates and rents rise wonderfully on a 5-year period, and us in New Jersey did not get our fair share of that. And in effect, our rents have maintained a flatness,
but you know,
may
last
help
year,
us.
you know, when you were on the show last year and you brought in, we spoke about this marketing campaign. You know, you were saying the difference of being in New York versus New Jersey. You know, which did well. I mean, people are looking to save money, so why wouldn't they go to New Jersey?
Very good question. Something I think we've all been asking ourselves. We have not seen what you've seen in past years when New York City has grown. You've typically seen New Jersey rents grow, and we did not see it this time around. I think we were all waiting for it.
But Anthony, my real question is, you know, it's not far. I mean, you can go via tunnels, bridges. I mean, you know, that's what been part of your advertising. It's not far, and we're talking about a substantial savings. Why hasn't this happened?
New Jersey is a great place to live. It has a lot of positives going forward. You've got quality of life, smart, intelligent people,
high
executives.
taxes.
Well, that's where I'm going. And I think that the issue is it's too expensive to do business in New Jersey, period. And you know, the companies are looking to save money, and why do you need to have you know, their entire organizations in one of the most expensive states in New Jersey? So I think our politicians have their work cut out for them to try and turn this ship around, and it's like a battleship. It's difficult to change the perception, and I think it's getting worse.
We were discussing pharma. I mean, at one time, New Jersey was the king of pharmaceuticals. What happened?
I think I'm going to defer to these two gentlemen, because their primary markets in that central part of the state where really pharma is headquartered. Northern New Jersey, where the nucleus of our portfolios, has never really had pharma as a major category in the reality.
I think pharmaceutical industry has suffered some major consolidations. Not necessarily to the New Jersey's not the reason. I mean, pharmaceutical businesses. You've got Pfizer, Wyeth, Merck, and Schering-Plough. J&J buys Pfizer. All these big former pharmaceutical headquarters have been consolidated, and now no need for you don't need the space. I think a lot of the pharmaceutical companies have looked at saying, let's outsource a lot of our R&D, and now they're becoming really more marketing companies, and they just don't need the jobs. They don't need their business model is changing, so they're consolidating. And because New Jersey was originally, it was the #1 state in the country for pharmaceutical. Now that's been overshadowed by California. You have Massachusetts taking over, because their states have promoted R&D, and their universities have promoted being research beds. And New Jersey hasn't done as good of a job as they could have been in attracting keeping the pharmaceutical
And what about financial services? I remember, in the Princeton corridor where you have space.
That's right.
The financial services. You had Merrill Lynch with their corporate headquarters. You had BlackRock. What's happening over there?
Well, you still see Merrill Lynch just relocated from one side of town to the other side of town. So they did stay in Princeton and actually increase their presence down there. However, that's a question as to whether they're going to stay with this merger with Bank of America. BlackRock, who's a tenant of ours right now, is still in, that's still not settled as to whether they're going to stay or they're going to move. We're hoping that they stay, and we're discussing with them right now the possibility for them to stay in that area. They do have 1,000 employees that have been down in that area that were former Merrill asset managers that all have they have their families down there, and it's been working quite well for them for many years. So I hope that they decide to stay. But again, I think some of the issues are some of the state issues, high taxes. For one, no programs in the state to retain tenants. We have programs in the state to attract tenants, but once the tenants are here, there's nothing in place right now to keep them in here. And I think that's the next situation in which the politicians in the state need to really get on at the moment, because with the vacancy that's coming up in New York City, there's going to be an attraction to come to New York City from some quite attractive rental deals. And for New Jersey to hold on to these tenants that are expiring, especially in Jersey City, they're going to have something in place to keep them in New Jersey.
What about your market? I mean, the Secaucus, the Meadowlands, I mean, that's always been a popular space.
And we believe it still is. Let me just comment on Anthony's thing, because I couldn't agree more. I have been on the Governor's Real Estate Advisory Task Force, I think that's right, and I have put myself on the Tenants Retention and Attraction Committee.
Oh, great. I should be talking to you then.
And the subcommittee just put forth in a fairly detailed proposal, which the Governor's office at least said we agree with, which really what we said is, A, all your programs right now are in marketing new tenants. You got to retain your existing tenants, or you're going to really be up the creek. And they heard that. And when they said, we went around and we said, Pennsylvania's done a pretty good job of this. Mm-hmm. And let's take a page out of their playbook, and North Carolina's done a good job of this. So we suggested to the state, as opposed to me doing a marketing campaign, you doing it, and you doing it, to make a consolidated marketing effort to change that philosophy that New Jersey is difficult to do business with, that puts the front office really, to our industry's help in retaining and attracting tenants. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. We did not ask them to spend $1 gazillion on it. We really said for a few $1 million, you can create a handful of good professional small business who are in effect the state salesmen, who can consolidate the different benefits into one place, where right now guys like us, if we want to help attract a tenant, really need to do the work for the tenant.
That's exactly right.
And go to the Department of Labor, Department of Education, Treasurer's office. There's a whole slew of stuff, but you got to know where they are.
They do recognize the problem, and I think that wasn't there just a bill or incentive program that was just passed for within a mile and a half of transit hubs?
It was the urban transit hub tax.
Well, that's again, I think it's great. I think it's good legislation, but that's to kind of attract new tenants.
Okay.
But
it's
the
also
state.
For tenants that are in place to.
But David,
and I think that's sort of. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
I think more about this.
Yeah, the transit hub tax I think is a terrific legislation to try to attract people to the state. I think that's a good thing. But I think the issue we're facing right now is there's no one to attract to the state.
Right.
We got to hold on to.
I think this is the problem, because as you said before, with rents going down in New York City, people who might have migrated to New Jersey are going to stay in New York City because the deals are
great.
Are better.
Listen, the differential that our ads touted last year, that gross occupancy cost differential, has absolutely come down. It is still not. It is still, I would argue, if our graph showed it our graph took 100,000 square foot tenancy, we extrapolated. I think we used a $75 Manhattan rent, and this is again in fourth quarter '07, and we used a $27 New Jersey rent, and we put forth our assumptions in a definable way, and we came out on a 10-year basis. I think it was a 63% gross occupancy cost difference.
Guess
what?
It's still a lot cheaper.
Even if you dial it down to the new New York City rents, I would still put those gross occupancy cost savings in front of any CFO.
No, there is no question that this is
saving. If New Jersey wouldn't attract New York tenants when New York rents were $100 a foot plus, and New Jersey rents were $25, and now New Jersey rents are $20 or $21 or $22, and Manhattan rents are $50. How are we going to get to?
I'll tell you how.
It's still more difficult to do that.
David, I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. Because back then, when rents were going up, I think companies everybody was making money, and people were concerned about what they had to do to be able to increase their profits and make it. Now everybody's scared of CapExes and looking how to reduce their contingent obligations, i.e. rents that people pay guys like you and I. And the CFOs have more to say about these kinds of decisions. I've always felt, as a New Jersey developer trying to lure Manhattan tenants to New Jersey, that you don't want to talk to the user groups, you want to talk to the CFO.
Well, I totally agree.
And there's a mindset change too right now.
It's always, we've always talked about this Manhattan effect, and my entire career, I've never seen it happen, in mass. I hope you're right.
Can I bring up another topic on New Jersey, because I think we've really spoken about the office. It's tough. It's there. One of the big attractions of New Jersey for New Yorkers or Westchester or other is that you can go to New Jersey and you don't pay any sales tax on clothing. Now the mayor is planning to change the rule over here for the increase the sales tax to close to 9%, and in addition there's no sales tax in the 5 boroughs for clothing under $110. What would happen if the sales tax, which is exempt in New Jersey, happened in retail? What do you see?
You say what would happen, yet New York has played this game in pilot programs off and on again for the better part. It's done it 3 or 4 times in the last 10 years. And every time it's done it, I can't tell you that I have felt from my tenants a huge difference. If it was enacted on a long-term basis.
I mean, if you put in sales tax on clothing in New Jersey, what effect do you think that would have on your retail? That's what I'm saying.
If you're going to tax the consumer by another X percent, it's going to come out somewhere. And at the end of the day, if the retailers can take it out of the landlord, they certainly will. It depends on the time.
And that's my next question relating. We've had Linens and Things, we've had Circuit City, we've had
Filene's Basement.
Filene's, we've had a number of these bankruptcies. Where is retail today? And I mean, a lot of your business is in the retail market, right over the bridge, right outside the tunnel.
You can make the case that New Jersey is over-retailed. I think somebody here in pre said, a lot over-retailed. New Jersey is over-retailed. That's just the truth.
And what about the hospitality? Because you're also in the hospitality business in New Jersey.
I'm in the hospitality business we're in is again, northern New Jersey. It's really the kind of hotels, especially in Harmon Meadow, that live under the full-fledged wing of the New York City submarket. We attract people. The ADR in New York City these days, I'm going on a citywide basis, is 250. In New Jersey, it's half of that, and you can be in Harmon Meadow 3 miles away, with the tours and the lower rated business.
So you're still, so the hospitality industry in New Jersey, in the Harmon Meadow section, has really not felt it.
Well, the rate has dropped like everybody's rate has dropped.
Right, but I mean, what has happened, like there were an enormous number of these crazy hotels opening up in Long Island City and in Brooklyn, because everybody said, we want to be in New York City. Even though Harmon's is 3 miles away, we want to be in New York City. Now you have these vacancies because nobody's going to go into Long Island City right near the subway over there.
Well, the reality is that in a lot of ways, our hotels in Weehawken and Secaucus are closer to Midtown Manhattan than some of those other out-of-borough facilities. They're really 3-4 miles. In Weehawken, you can walk out of the Sheraton Suites Hotel, get on a ferry, which the front desk gives you a free ticket on, and be at 42nd Street in 7 minutes, and a Waterways bus will take you down the Strip for theater. So we've seen a lot of that for years and years. We've been operating those hotels, and we've seen it. That being said, though, it's connected, and as occupancy and rates have fallen precipitously in New York, so too has that happened in New Jersey. What happens when the hotel market goes into a fall like this is that the upper rated end of the products, the 4 and 5 stars, do worse than the 2 and 3 stars. The compression of rates tends to favor the lower rated products, who everybody's getting hurt, but it's the 5-star brands that are really feeling it more than anything.
I agree with you. We have a handful of hotels. The different product types, but one is the Westchester Marriott, right over the Tappan Zee, and another one's a boutique hotel down in Atlantic City. The group business is obviously down, but our Marriott, kind of bread and butter hotel is, it's holding its own. The interesting thing is the higher end, like the luxury brands that are all over there, are getting crushed right now because who has discretionary money to spend on high-end hotels?
It's interesting. A couple of weeks ago, I hosted a show with 4 restaurateurs, and a year ago I did the same thing, and I said, so who are your customers a year ago? It was all the foreigners. I hosted a show. Now they said, it's the locals. We don't have foreigners. They're not traveling here. So it's a different thing. New Jersey has been always known for industrial. What's happening in the industrial market? I mean, you have great transportation, other things. Where's the industrial market?
The industrial market has been a challenge. I like this. We have our biggest. We had a very, very good level of occupancy, but I will tell you, since the first of the year, it's been managing bankruptcies. And as when you lose tenants right now in this market, they're not so easy to replace. And as many companies go, we've had a number of bankruptcies and have increased our vacancy. I don't know the exact number, but that's been. That being said, that was the first 3 months. In the last 6 weeks or 4 weeks, our activity. And the first 3 months, I was just getting phone calls by people saying, "We're not doing it." But now the brokers are starting, and I have 3 people on one warehouse right now, and I can't remember the last time I had 3 interested parties on one tenant.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he has a bigger cross section of industrial space by far than I do, but I've been fortunate to avoid bankruptcies. But we just did a 300,000 square foot renewal in one tenant, and it was a very interesting negotiation because it went from a long-term deal to kept getting shorter, right. 10 years, 7 years, 5 years, and I didn't really want to go too long with the tenant because the market's weak and they were asking for lower rates. There's obviously rent pressure right now, and they kept getting down. And then finally, now we ended up at a 5-year deal, but it went down to doing an 18-month deal because they were uncertain about their own business plan. Even though they were a large national company, they were in the building supply company. In that business, so that was very interesting. But we ended up getting that deal done. And it's funny, we have a space right now that I could not. We've owned the buildings for a couple of years, and I just couldn't get rid of the space. We have 2 tenants actually looking at it all of a sudden. So there's some life that's coming up. And the rest of the tenants, to greater or lesser extents, they've been on time with their rent. So the industrial space has been holding up much better, I think, than the office market right now.
What about, Cory Booker, Newark? You have the new stadium. I mean, what's happening in Newark?
Yeah.
Newark is a perennial story in New Jersey. It has all of the important elements to be a great city, and we believe it is a great city. I think that Cory is on the right path and is doing all the right things. He got caught with doing this as the economy went into the tank. But long term, do I think the seeds of Newark are there to grow? Yes, I think Newark needs, it doesn't need any more cultural or trophy assets. It needs housing assets.
You own property in Newark. You don't.
No, I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I own 2 office buildings.
That's right. You have Gateway, right?
Yes, one of the Gateway buildings.
But Gateway is like an isolated section. I remember when I went to the stadium, the new arena, and someone said, you can go by train, you can walk through Gateway, and then you can walk to the arena. And that was the comment. Don't walk too much further, but that's where you had to walk.
You see, and that is, and I think if there's one...
There's a misnomer.
Right,
there.
and I think that's where, I think if there's something that Cory needs to do better, and I think I happen to agree with Manny. I think he's doing a good job, and he's on the right track over there.
He's the real deal.
He's the real deal. But I think one of the things, if he could do better, he's got to get that image that you had to go through Gateway to get to the
Wait a second.
the arena.
This was an owner of office buildings in Newark who told me this.
Oh,
I mean, this isn't somebody who said to me,
he was probably there for a very long time.
I would argue that's a 10-year-old comment, because right now,
that's right. It's
where
a different
Cory
story.
has had some security issues early in his tenure, the fact is, if you look at the history now of the Rock and the area around it, and have they had any crime in any capacity in any way whatsoever since that place is open? The answer is no.
I think
Right?
Newark.
And actually, they have a new restaurant outside the ice bar there.
Right. I
need to see that to be told that
situation.
Cultural trophy assets make sense from government to do to attract infill.
I'm very bullish on what's gone on with that arena. I think that arena has been phenomenal.
Okay, I love the arena. I thought it was a great arena. I think it's a great facility. It's a pity that the Nets didn't make a deal over there, because it would have been easier.
Well, I think it's still out there. Still out there, the Nets.
I was with some people today. They tell me the Nets are going to start construction by December, because they lose Barkley's contract, which is a rather expensive thing. There is this thing in New Jersey, they call it Xanadu.
You sure you want to ask that question?
I want to ask that question because, people ask me about Xanadu.
We have to give Manny a time limit on this.
Okay. Manny, you have a minute and a half. Tell my audience what Xanadu is. I mean, in the middle of the Meadowlands, which has the worst traffic as it is, there's a creation with the snow.
We consider it the biggest car wash in the country. I'll just leave it at that. We don't listen. I really hope that Xanadu can succeed, because our entire portfolio surrounds it, and it will attract a lot. When it opens, it will attract a lot of traffic.
When it opens, how much retail is there in Xanadu?
I have no idea. You're going to have to ask. The best people to ask that would be Carl Goldberg and George Zoffinger.
So we won't get to Xanadu. Now, none of you own multifamily in New Jersey? I mean, that's been a stable market. I mean, the new residential construction is out of business. The condo markets are out of business, including Hoboken, Jersey City. Nothing's really selling to a great level. What's your thoughts about, you're in the multifamily business?
Our office is headquarters in Morristown. And there's been a lot of multifamily development going on. There's three major projects going up with rentals, condos. It's actually changing the town, but time will tell. We'll see. I think the one project that used to be the department store on the other side of the green has been 50% sold for a year now. So I think
is that the old Macy's?
No,
that's the Roseland property on the green.
I'm forgetting the name of it.
But the Commons, right?
Yeah. Well, it's with Roseland and Woodmont Properties, but I'm forgetting the name of it. Anyway, so then the same developer is doing rental projects right across from the train station, over 250 units, which are going to be rentals. Then they did the old Vale Mansion, which was AT&T, the home of the mansion of Bell, and that did well. But so the high-end communities like like Morristown are attracting multifamily investors and capital. But
I mean, you built residential once in New Jersey, right?
Once, a very, very, very long time ago, and not in my tenure.
Not in your tenure.
I would, but just to answer your question, I am in the process of looking to deploy some 1031 dollars, and we've made a decision for the first time.
Would you build?
Yes, I might, but I'm more interested in purchasing multifamily assets. We have another site that we had entitled, and we're planning on selling to presumably a condo developer. That's not going to happen. The entitlements are in place. The tax is now in the carry of hire. We're looking at a rental job and waiting, and we're repositioning it. We've retooled the plans, and we're deciding right now, do we want to attempt to go and develop this project? I mean, is it time?
With like a minute left, I just want to ask, it relates to all the markets. How tough is it for you to get money for a mortgage or financing today?
What's a mortgage?
Yeah, what's the size of the mortgage?
Ed?
I agree. We haven't been in the market because there's no capital. I mean,
the sense
is
we've had a couple of small loans come due, $10 to $20 million this year. We've been able to recast those with the small savings banks. Anything over 50 is Herculean to even attempt to get done. And thankfully, we're not in the market for those kinds of large loans right now. But my understanding is it's pretty, dead.
Yeah, I concur with that too. I've done three loans of that size.
In 30 minutes,
you can get the 10 to 40s. You can get done. 10 to 50s.
We just did 3 in the 20 to 30 million range.
I think in our 30 minutes, we've got a pretty good perspective of what's happening in New Jersey. It's a little blah, but maybe we hope that the horizon will be better. I'd like to thank David Welsh, Anthony De Tomasi, and Emmanuel Stern. Next week, you talk about money. I have the bankers to talk about what's going on. See you next week.
Major funding for these programs is provided by grants from Capital One Bank and Perfect Building Maintenance, Murray Hill Properties, SJP Properties, Cushman & Wakefield, Greenberg Traurig, LLP, New York Community Bank, Bank of America, Kilroy Metal Products, New York's Window Company. Additional funding is provided by Akron Gold Brothers, LLC, Briarwood Organization, C.B. Richard Ellis, City Investment Fund, Essex Capital Partners, Excel Realty Advisors, First American Title Insurance Company of New York, First Service Williams, Gemini Real Estate Advisors, Hal Fettner, Durst Fettner Residential, Helmsley Spear, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, James Orphanides, Massey Knackle Realty Services, Madison Realty Capital, M&T Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Muss Development, Palin Enterprises, Rosenthal & Rosenthal, Signature Bank, Sterling & Sterling, Stephen Napolitano, Stonehenge Partners, Studley, The Moynihan Group.